Hi guys, continuing the theme of cross-cultural leadership, in this tutorial we are looking at cultural awareness, etiquette, local context and adaptability. So in the previous tutorial we looked at Hofstede's cultural organization, and this is just to expand a little bit on some of the ideas and some of the vocabulary that were introduced in the previous tutorial. So cultural vocabulary is really important because when you are leading global teams, effective leadership across cultures requires understanding and subtle cultural nuances to build trust and collaboration. It involves respectful management. Using accurate cultural terms helps manage differences sensitively, showing respect for diverse perspectives and values. Avoiding confusion. Misusing cultural vocabulary can cause misunderstandings, misinterpretations, or even offense in international communication. Precision and empathy. Combining precise language with empathy ensures messages are clear, respectful, culturally appropriate. To make a distinction between two definitions, cultural awareness means recognizing differences, while cultural sensitivity involves respecting and adapting to those differences. So cultural awareness is understanding different cultures do things different ways. Cultural sensitivity is adapting your behavior based on that knowledge. And they're quite often used interchangeably, but I would argue there is a distinction between the two. So cultural awareness means understanding that people have different values, habits, and communication styles across cultures. It does not imply that you do anything about it, right? Just definition is that you're aware of it. It matters because it helps leaders, it gives the leaders opportunity, better said, to adapt their messages appropriately and avoid misunderstandings when working with people from different cultural backgrounds. Cultural awareness is essential when managing international teams to foster cooperation and avoid conflicts. Common phrases around this field would be aware of, recognize cultural differences in. So as I say, cultural awareness is the first step, but there then has to be, as we said, cultural sensitivity. Etiquette is the accepted or polite way of behaving in a specific cultural context, and it guides respectful interactions. So an example might be that in Japan, exchanging business cards with both hands and a slight bow shows respect and establishes trust in professional settings. This is etiquette. Different contexts could be shaking hands, for example, be very common in the Western world. Or in Germany, punctuality. Being on time is crucial in Germany. Punctuality signals reliability and commitment to professional responsibilities. In the US, directness is often appreciated and part of the etiquette. Direct communication is valued, with clear and straightforward expressions seen as honest and efficient. Why this really matters is that following etiquette shows respect and professionalism, fostering positive relationships and smooth business operations across cultures. So again, this is something that you would want to be aware of, whether you're traveling to Germany or Japan or the US, or you're going to be dealing with stakeholders from Japan or Germany and the US. You should be aware, and they should also make themselves aware of what the cultural etiquette is in different everyday situations. To make some contrast, common business etiquette across the globe. So in Western Europe, for example, North America, South America too, we would give a handshake. In East Asia, that would most likely be a bow, either instead of or as well as a handshake. Communication in some countries, for example the US, can be direct and brief. In other cultures, indirect and polite, for example China. In some cultures, deadlines are flexible. In some cultures, deadlines are very strict. In some cultures, as we saw in the previous tutorial, decision making is more individual versus other cultures where it's more of a group consensus. So it's very important that you're aware of the prevailing business etiquette where you are, or with the stakeholders that you are interacting with. Local context. So local context refers to the unique background, customs and business norms specific to a region or country. It shapes how people interpret messages and behave in professional settings. It matters because what works in one country may not work in another. And what works in one country may offend in another, in fact. Ignoring local context can lead to misunderstandings, failed marketing, and damaged relationships. For example, a US marketing message may not resonate in Asia. Humor and idioms can be misinterpreted. You often hear phrases around this like, let's adapt our strategy to the local context. Understanding the local context helps build trust. So it's really important in advertising, for example. The same marketing campaign or advertising campaign that works in, for example, the United States might not work in South Korea, let's say. It might, but you'd have to be aware of the cultural context and the local cultural context in both places to make that decision accurately. So adaptability is crucial. Adaptability is the ability to adjust your behavior, language, or strategy to fit new or changing cultural environments. As you can imagine, this is very important in international leadership. Global leaders must be flexible, empathetic, and observant to succeed across cultures and effectively manage international teams. Phrases such as "we adapted our approach to match local expectations" and "let's be flexible with how we present this idea" are going to be crucial in the field of adaptability. So whether you're adapting your style, your message, your communication, your priorities, whatever it is, you have to be aware of local context and adapt accordingly. And obviously none of these previous concepts work in isolation. They are combined together and combined with other contexts such as individualism versus collectivism. All these things combine and interact to create sort of behavior and behavioral norms that you associate with a specific place. Cultural awareness provides the foundation by helping leaders understand and appreciate differences. Awareness is the first step. Etiquette translates respect into appropriate actions across cultures, preventing misunderstandings. Local context ensures leaders apply cultural knowledge sensitively to the specific environment and situation. Adaptability allows leaders to adjust behaviors and strategies when cultural or situational factors change. Successful cross-cultural leadership balances deep cultural knowledge with the flexibility to adapt, fostering trust and effective collaboration. So our first port of call is careful, polite language. If you're not sure, ask in a polite way. So showing awareness. I understand that in your culture, X, Y, and Z is the norm of the etiquette. Or would this approach work in your market? You're sort of deferring to the local expertise of the person you're talking to. We can adjust our strategy if needed. Self-explanatory. Thank you for explaining how your team prefers to communicate. So this is knowledge. If you're not going in with that knowledge of how communication is done in that particular context, for example, there's nothing wrong with just asking the question and finding out politely. So to sum up, cultural awareness and etiquette build trust and respect in global interactions. Understanding local context helps tailor communication effectively to cultural norms. Adaptability involves adjusting tone, behavior, and language to fit different cultural expectations. Language choices should always reflect respect and an understanding of cultural nuances, or at least a willingness to understand, an obvious willingness to understand. And something you guys can think about, reflect on a scenario where cultural misunderstanding might occur. Or perhaps this has happened to you in life or in work, such as giving feedback or leading a meeting. And apply this lesson's vocabulary to respond professionally and sensitively. So feedback, for example, in some cultures, feedback would be very direct, and that directness would be appreciated. But in other cultures, that directness might be considered aggressive or offensive or inappropriate. So think about it. Think about when this could occur or when it has in fact occurred to you. Thank you very much, guys. I will see you in the next tutorial.